everyone. Apparently, we haven't mastered airport to Japan communications quite yet in the year 2025, but we are here. Robert is en route to Japan for the World Championships. Weldon is here. I am here, Jonathan Galt, to talk about a wild day at the 2025 World Athletics Championships. It began with Jakob Ingebrigtsen going home devastated from the men's 1500 meters, a crazy women's marathon, final 100 meter showdown. Perez Jepchirchir and Tix Sefa, Julia Padanane from Uruguay medaling like we all had in the prediction contest. I mean, today was a banner day. The Let's Run prediction contest remains undefeated. If you ever wanted to get the perfect distance palette, you would have needed to predicted Julia Padanane medaling in the women's 10,000 meters and a 1-2-3 in the men's 10,000 of Jimmy Gressier, Yomif Kjelcha, and Andreas Almgren. Well, we live in a world now where Jimmy Gressier is the world and Diamond League champion in the 10,000 meters and 3,000 meters, respectively. And where Grant Fisher and Nico Young, the Americans with the great hopes to win a global medal and perhaps the first American gold medal in the men's 10,000 since 1964, both of them went home devastated. Fifth for Young, and Fisher really ran out of it. Eighth in the last 100. And oh yeah, we had the 200 meter finals as well. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, 10:61, championship record, fourth fastest of all time. And Oblique Seville, after a few championships where he couldn't put it all together, finally did, runs a PB in the World Championship final in 100 meters, 9.77. First title for Jamaica in the men's 100 since 2016. A lot to break down. Can't wait to get into all of it with you.
Great day of track and field. That's what I gotta say. I mean, John and I take a big nap in the middle, but the 1500 was word today. I'm trying to think. In America, what? Yeah, that's early in the morning, so it's one day for you guys as well.
No. This is right now. It's it's in the afternoon. They're getting ready to kick off the NFL games. The morning session for us was last night for them, Saturday night.
Oh,
so
never mind. 2 days for you guys.
But it was one long day for us.
I knew something was off there.
The marathon course actually goes right through, right along the street our Airbnb's on. So I just could hear this helicopter approaching at about 7:30 in the morning. Then I'm like, we must be on the marathon course. I didn't hear any traffic, so I'm like, and then I hear footsteps. I would just wake up. Well, then I say marathoners. So we saw that, and now we're here, 12:41 a.m. local time, talking about all the chaos. 2 gold medals for the Americans in the field events, though. Valerie Ullman and Tara Davis-Wardhall. So pretty successful overall, but obviously not in the men's 10,000, which is the distance event we were focused on tonight.
Yeah, I think we start there. French running fans, John will deny it here, but walking over, he said, does Jimmy Gressier deserve an asterisk?
I'm not going to deny that. I asked the question, does the race, which, for the record, the winning time was 28:55. That's the slowest by almost a full minute in the history of the World Championships. 28:01 was the previous slowest winning time. This was 28:55. It's the slowest at any global 10,000 meter final since 1968. And that race took place in Mexico City, which was at 7,300 feet of altitude. If you go back before that, you'd have to go to 1952, Emil Zatopek in Helsinki. That's the last time someone ran slower to win a global 10,000 meter title. To pretend that the elements didn't have an enormous impact on this race, I think would be wrong. But people knew for months that it's going to be in Tokyo in the middle of September. It's going to be ridiculously hot and humid. You have a whole year since Paris to prepare for that sort of scenario. And that means sharpening your kick and be ready for the humid conditions. Jimmy Gressier was the most prepared athlete. He was in great form. We saw he had a good kick in the Diamond League final. He was a deserving champion, but this was a unique race, even compared to some previous World Championships where we've had hot and humid races before.
Well, that's sort of the one thing I don't really get. Is the weather traditionally hotter now than it is in, like, when they had the Olympics here this time of year? Or I think it is about 10 degrees actually warmer now than usual conditions for the middle of September. Because it is so humid out there. It's crazy. When I do any sort of, like, I think I jogged a little bit, like, 50 meters back from the food truck. and I was sweating for like 20 minutes.
No, the difference, I think, Weldon, there have been hot and humid races in the past. The last Olympic final, I would have to look at the exact conditions. That was very hot and humid. Pretty much all the distance finals, I think, in Osaka 2007 were quite hot. But the difference today is you didn't have someone in the middle of the race really trying to commit to make it fast. I mean, the halfway split was what, around 15, 16, something like that. You know, it was pretty slow, and really no one had much of an interest in trying to force a pace or make a significant move. You had a few 67s or 68s, a few 66s in there, but really it was pretty conservative pace going through about 5,000 meters here, looking at the splits. Okay, these aren't very helpful. A lot of incomplete splits. They stopped like giving out some of the splits in the stadium because one athlete lost their timing chip. So they just said, oh, we can't give splits for anyone. So I don't really understand what it had to do with anything. But yeah, normally someone takes it. And this time no one wanted to do that. And so it just kept going slower and slower. And then when you get to like a mile to go, I guess someone could decide, okay, I'm really going to hammer it. But a lot of time, I think people would be worried by exactly what happened to Grant Fisher at USA's. As Grant Fisher takes off with a mile to go in that race, he hammers it, but Nico Young just sits on him and kicks by him at the end. So, yeah, you want to get rid of a few of the pretenders. I don't know if you would lump Gressier as a pretender, but his previous championship record, this man has run... He was 5th at the last European Championships in the 10,000 last year. He was 4th at the European Championships in 22 in the 10,000. He's run 4 global finals in his career across the 5,000 and 10,000. Never finished higher than 9th. And now at 28 years old, he's the gold medalist. He is the world champion. He's the first non-African born man to win the 10K since 1984. Like, is he going to be hanging around if it's like a 26-minute race like it was in Paris last year? I'm not sure if he would be. So it's wild to think about. It's interesting to ponder, but he won the race that was run tonight, and he's going to be the world champ forever because of that.
Yes, his performances were shockingly poor at these past championships.
Well,
even the
I
Europeans.
wouldn't call them shockingly poor. They were pretty much in line with the caliber of runner he was. Now, he has been running well this year. I think he's gone up a level, but I wouldn't say like, oh my God, Jimmy Gressier, he totally bombed. This guy, I remember, he finished like 12th or 13th in the Olympic final last year, and he was celebrating like he won the race. He was so pumped to have run like a personal best in the Olympic final. And now he was celebrating less, I think, when he crossed the finish time this time, because he was just in disbelief that he's the world champion.
Yeah, I just prior today I knew him for winning European cross countries or something,
and his amazing celebration.
And his celebration.
Yeah.
So I thought if this guy won a Worlds, he would do like a flip over the finish line. I think he's a bit shocked, but he set pretty much PBs at everything this year. But yeah, when you look in 2025 era, so he got the Diamond League win this year, the Diamond League final. He won the 3,000 meters with a great kick at the end. But his PBs right now are 7:30, 12:51. I mean, that those are like sort of like, I mean, Scott Strand's run 7:30. No offense, right?
Ethan Strand.
Once again.
No, if you look, the races he set his 3K PB in the same race as Grant Fisher set the world record. Grant Fisher ran 7:22. Gressier ran 7:30. He set his 5K PB in the same race where Grant Fisher set the world record. Fisher ran 12:44 and Gressier ran 12:54. So he was in really good, he was in good aerobic fitness. He's been getting, I'd say surely he's the fittest he's ever been. But I still look at these races, those times are good, but if you're in a really fast final, again, I'm not maybe he is there, but I'm not, based on his previous resume, I'm not sure that he is. But if it's a slower race like this, where you've got a dozen guys in it at the bell, I saw how he closed the Diamond League final. Yeah, I was thinking like, okay, it's going slow. It's going to let a lot of guys in, and he's a guy who's already shown he can kick against some of the best guys in the world. So that allowed him into the race. He took full advantage. I'm not trying to, I mean, I asked you, I just thought like this winning time is just so much slower than what we've ever seen. It's a totally different style of race, but I mean, Centro, I don't consider his race to have an asterisk, but also there wasn't this like it wasn't a 25 lap race in like these oppressively hot and humid conditions. But if I'm not giving Centro an asterisk, I can't give Jimmy Gressier an asterisk. I think he's the world champ. We just got accept that, congratulate him. It's a cool story.
Yeah, it's super cool. It is sort of crazy, John. I'm now trying to pull up the official splits. We've got better splits ourselves, but usually, like, this is 2025. For, like, any race in America, I can expect lap-by-lap splits for any runner, and here they only have splits for the first 2,400 meters of the race, and then it's gone because somebody's bib fell off. But
World Athletics, get it together. The live results crashed after the 100-meter final, and we don't have splits for the 10,000.
And we still don't have an honest assessment of what happened in World in Eugene, and what that is now 3 years later. It was a timing misfunction. Come on, like, let's have some transparency. They go after athletes for the smallest technicality in terms of doping. Give some trace amount of some chemical, and you're banned for 4 years. And they like Devin Allen was like essentially robbed of a chance for glory, a life-changing win before home fans, and we still haven't had an honest reconciliation of what happened there. But back to Gressier, he understands English, doesn't speak it, so we did an interview, and there was a translator, and I said, well, one, like, do you think of yourself as a better 5,000 or 10,000 meter runner? He's like, well, I thought until today 5,000, but I'm now the world champion, so thank you very much. And I said, when did you think this was possible? And he's like, I'm just sort of paraphrasing, and this is through translation. He's like, look, I obviously hoped to do well at these things, but once I won the Diamond League final, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I can win. So we thought the 5,000 and 10,000 meters were both pretty much wide open. Well, depending on the Jakob situation in the 5,000, and that proved the case tonight, especially because of this case. I am sort of shocked, John, that you got to go back to the 50 to see a time this slow, because we've seen a lot of hot finals, and
slower than the women's world record.
I mean, that's shocking to me. That, like, a woman has run a 10,000 this year? No, last year. Last year faster than this. But I mean, that is absolutely crazy.
The thing, I mean, these conditions, walking to the stadium, like, this feels like a sauna. It felt like walking through soup. It's in the mid 80s for this race. The dew point was like 78 degrees, which is one of the highest I've ever seen for any sort of elite distance race. So that's why it was so slow. I guess I'm curious, well, then, do you think the Americans did anything wrong in this race? Like, if you're Nico Young or Grant Fisher, are you going to bed tonight thinking, man, I should have moved earlier, I should have done something different? Are you just going to bed saying, well, my kick isn't as good as I thought it was, and I need to prepare better next time?
Well, I didn't talk to Nico. You spoke to him.
Okay, yeah.
Speaking to Grant, we're like, what happened? He's like, I just didn't have it the last 100. He's like, I pretty much was where I wanted to be, in position. And when you have it, you have it. And when you don't, you don't. And I was like, do you know beforehand? He's like, to be honest, no. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, let's go. And then it just isn't there. So it's not like he said, he didn't. It's not like he said, I felt like I was struggling with 100 to go. It's just like time just, as he said, it's like you're trying to shift gears in a car and you just mess up the shift. And then you're just out of gas. That's what happened there. I mean, Gressier whereas speaking to Gressier, we're like, what was your plan? He's like, run and just kick as hard as I could the final 100. He was way back on the turn, I think about 6th, kind of tucked behind these guys. I did say to Grant, like, hey, Gressier came from way back. Do you think you should have maybe held back or waited? And he said no. Like, I was right where I wanted to be. We're sort of, John and I are rewatching it here. Kajelza leads off the turn. But Barrega's right there. Almgren, who was leading, was in 3rd. And then all 3 of these top guys actually were very close. I mean, they were the deserved top 3. Grant goes backwards. I think Grant was 7th, John, not 8th. But
results say he was 8th. Okay. Well, then.
Looks like 7 guys to me.
Well, Kerr got him at the line. No, I talked to Nico, and he was pretty disappointed. And he essentially thought with about 500 to go, he thought there was an opportunity for him to move out a little bit and position himself well. And he wasn't able to do it. He got boxed in as a result. And that meant that he wasn't in the position he wanted to be. Now, he was there with 100 to go. Like, he had something. He did have to go he was the widest guy coming down the home straight, but he was still in the picture. But I think how he got there, he thought maybe if he had a smoother ride, he would have had a little bit more left for the last 100.
And I was sort of live blogging some of it during the race. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this thing was it really was slow. But when there's 12 guys in contention with a lap to go or two, one to go, right?
I think so.
It really is super slow. But like watching the race the whole time, I don't think anyone wants to sort of be the sacrificial lamb out there in this thing. And I think we kind of saw this last night with the women's race, and it was hotter today, I believe. But they would try to push the pace, and then essentially, I mean, it wasn't this slow, but they gave up trying to push it. Mm-hmm. And it just came down, and Beatrice Chibet, she's close at 5,026 seconds, and she had the best final 200. In some ways, that's kind of how this race played out. But at one point, Nico was pretty far back in the pack. I mean, this is in the final mile, and I'm like, I just don't think he has that. It looked like he's struggling. And then all of a sudden, like, he did what he had to do. I got to give him credit. He got right up on there, right on Grant, and I was like, wow, game on. You cannot look that good, look like you're struggling, and you just need to be in position, the right place to go when you're kicking. And both the Americans, there's no excuses in that front. You can argue with their tactics, and I think there was a lot of criticism. Like, look, Grant thinks he's going to outkick these guys in a slow race because I was seeing a lot of talk on the message boards when it was this slow. They're like, oh my God, Nico Young's going to win because they really like his kick in a slow race compared to Grant, which is interesting. But you know what? Nico won the Grand Slam race, obviously won USA's. So the thinking is, like, if it's not just a barn burner, his kick might be better than Grant's. Well, that was kind of the race he had, and he got fifth.
Right. Grant Fisher's been in a lot of these races this year. Grand Slam Miami and USA's. USA's had an even slower winning time, 29:02. So the Diamond Leagues he was in. He's been in a lot of races where he's been kicking for the win in a tactical race and with 100 meters to go. And I think also he didn't have it today the way he did in the Diamond League final. Like, he was right there with Gressier at the Diamond League final, who showed he's got an amazing kick today. So he wasn't as good as he was in Zurich, and that cost him tonight. And I'm just thinking, if you're Grant Fisher, like, how would I have played this any differently? Like, do you try to just get to the front at 400 and just lead it from the inside and hope that if you can run like a 52 or something from the front, I mean, that's really hard to do. But I'm just thinking, like, do you try to do that and string it out a little bit? Someone might come over the top with you, but maybe you're just in better position. You're not leaving it to, like, you want to shake some of these guys out before the final 100 if you can. Like, is that the better move? But I also don't know how exactly he was feeling. The way he looked in the last 100, he may have run out of gas before then anyway if he tried to kick hard at 400 to go.
Say that again?
I'm saying, if you're Grant, do you consider taking the lead at the bell and trying to, like, really kick hard from there?
Well, I think so. And I guess let's talk about Almgren for a second, because Almgren had much of the lead, the final mile? More than that, probably. And he still ends up with a bronze. And friend of Let's Run, Jordan Donnelly, is co-coach of Almgren. I didn't realize how close this relationship was, and John called him right before this. They've been planning for the heat all year, planning for the final kick all year, like sauna training after World Indoors. I mean, no stone unturned. It honestly sounded a little bit like, in a good way, Alberto Salazar. Jordan's like, ask about the hat. I was like, why is the guy wearing a hat? It's dark out at night. He had a hat. It had a zipper on the top, mesh in below. They had ice in there to keep him as cold. It's doing leaving no stone unturned. So, and mentally, I think all that stuff helps. You're just ready. They go to high altitude, low altitude, kept reintroducing sauna training, that sort of stuff. Just did very thing. So he was 100 especially for a Swedish guy. He was 100% prepared for this. And then Jordan talked about, what was the concept? Sort of like the layered kick,
shadow and kick. He wanted to make sure he got himself in position by 7 laps to go, be in the top 4 at that point, and then really, like, 150 to go, kind of like use some of these landmarks around the track. From there to about 50 to go, shadow, make sure you're responding, and then the last 50 is really where you want to move. And he did a nice job of just hanging on the inside and riding the rail and just moving straight forward. And he closed well, and his transformation is pretty incredible also. I mean, this is pretty cool podium that we've got. Gressier, who kind of an also ran in some of these global finals, had never even medaled at Europeans on the track, now is the world champion. Yomif Kajelcha, who's always the nearly man at these championships, and you got to feel for him, and he was right there, man. He was right there, and Gressier got him at the line. But Kajelcha he always shows up. He kills it on the Diamond League circuit. Really consistent runner, has been at the top of the sport for a decade. Has really struggled in these championships, and 2019 was his only medal before tonight in 7 attempts. He got the silver then, was outkicked by Kajelcha. He got the silver again tonight, and he could tell he really wanted it, but he was really happy to be on the podium. And this might be his final track race. He said he's moving to the roads next year. So he's going to try to talk to the Ethiopian Federation and let him run the 5K, because there was some conversations beforehand. They're like, hey, if you run well in the 10, we might let you run the 5K as well. So watch out for him.
Who are they going to bump?
I mean, maybe Kumagoma. I'm trying to think, or Gebrewet. I mean, based on form this year, I'd bump Gebrewet for Kajelcha. But that's cool to see him get on the podium again. And then Almgren, who was a bronze medalist in the 800 meters at World Under-20 Championships back in 2014 at Hayward Field. He has these injuries, decides, all right, I'm going to try double threshold. I'll reinvent myself as a distance runner. And now he's gotten to the top of the sport, bronze medal at the World Championships. So it is pretty cool story to see those three guys come away with medals.
Yeah, I mean, a former 800-meter runner, and it showed promise, but really until Stockholm 5000 this year?
Yeah, he didn't get to run the Olympics last year. He got injured right before, so maybe he would have improved a little bit there. But no, he has an incredible run in Stockholm, 12:44. He'd been running all these personal bests the last couple of years, and the question was, can you do it when you need to kick in a championship? Because you would think, oh, he's a 145 800 guy. Like, this guy, race is made for him. But he doesn't view it that way at all. When he was on the Let's Run podcast earlier this year, he was just saying, I'm kind of a totally different runner now. I train differently. I don't do that sort of speed. So he doesn't view himself as an 800 guy. He hasn't viewed himself as an 800 guy for a very long time. He's a 5K, 10K guy.
But, I mean, everyone on the Let's Run forum should be very happy, right? Donovan Brazier should move up and discus distance. Cooper Luckenhouse should definitely be moving up for now. He's, peaked. Clearly it worked for Andres Almgren. But, John, I'm looking here at some of his post-race quotes, and I'm sort of they align perfectly with what his coach Jordan Donnelly was saying. Like Jordan told you, right, when there was once the 7 popped up on the laps to go, you need to be up there in position in top 4. He says here, for 18 laps, I tried to shut off my brain, and then with 7 laps, stay focused again. Like, that matches up with a coach. I had the special hat. I prepared the whole year to find a good strategy. A lot of training in heat changers with extra clothes to get used to the humidity. I worked so hard on my kick the last few weeks. I was pretty confident in the slow race. And then this is where people are saying, it's like when the race goes slow, it's important to stay in the front because if someone makes a move, you don't want to be too far back. I mean, I guess you could argue with that a little bit because Gressier came from back. But when we talk about the men's 1500, I think that was a major mistake Jakob made. He just assumed he could outkick it.
Let's move to the 1500.
But in 1 second. And then he also said, look, he had the strategy of the kick really well done. I mean, granted, he didn't win the race, but it was just done so well tactically. I was hoping the inside would open up, and it did. On the final straight, I just tried to give it all I could. And he said, look, I knew I had the lead. Usually when you have the lead, someone comes around you, and then they're a little bit on the outside, and then they'll drift back out, and the inside opens up. He had run these scenarios through his head, perfectly.
Okay. Well, that was the 10,000 meter final. You want to hit the hundreds real quick, and then we go in the time machine, talk about the 15s? I feel like the 100 meter, or do you just want to go to Jakob?
No, let's do the hundreds.
All right. So, women's race, Melissa Jefferson. I mean, first of all, I agree with Weldon. He was saying this. It's kind of ridiculous that these races were separated by 7 minutes. Like, these are two of the biggest events in the entire championships, and almost every other championship I've been to, you have either the men's 100 final on the second day and the women on the third day, or have it flipped, because then you've got one really big race to build up the whole night to. You do the special intros on the track with all the lighting and everything. Everyone gets into it, and that didn't happen. They didn't have any crazy intros. It just felt like any other final, and it was very different from the Olympic final in Paris last year, which was the coolest pre-race introduction I've ever seen when they had the men's 100-meter final. It was really amazing. So
wait, what? Better than Doha?
I think so. Doha was great, but I got so hyped up for Paris.
What'd they do last year? I don't remember.
They just did a light, they did a little bit of a light show, but they had this awesome techno music ahead of time. I don't know. I just got really into it. I thought it was a great song. Anyway, so that you didn't have this at all. You had the men's 10K final, and then the women's 100, and then right after the women's 100 is the men's 100. So, but the race, I mean, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, what can you say about her? She's had a perfect season in the 100. She starts out killing it, Grand Slam track, back in April, emerges on the scene. It's like, all right, she was the silver medalist. Sorry, she was the bronze medalist behind Sha'Carri's silver and Julian Alfred's gold last year in the Olympics. She looked good in the Grand Slam track meet. Then she starts running PBs. She runs a PB in Philadelphia, 10:73. Then she starts running 10.7s into the wind at pre. Goes to USA's, drops a 10.65. Keeps going, runs another 10.6 in Europe, and now she's the world champion. 10.61, championship record, taking down Sha'Carri's mark from 2023. She's the 4th fastest woman of all time. Only Flojo, Elaine Thompson-Herah, and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price are faster than her. She's still only 24 years old. She won all of her 100-meter races this year. She said afterwards it was a dream. This was a dream season. It really couldn't have gone any better. And for someone who started her season back in April to run a personal best on September 14th in the World Championship final, just outstanding. Like, what a season for Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, and he's just a superstar. It was last year, it was Julian Alfred and Sha'Carri and then kind of everyone else. Now, Jefferson-Wooden, it was a blowout. Julian Alfred, I don't know what happened to her. She didn't have it tonight. She didn't run all, I mean, I was expecting that was going to be a head-to-head duel between those two. And it turned out to a blowout, and Alfred wasn't even able to get silver. That went to Tina Clayton, who ran a great race, the young Jamaican, 10.76 for silver. Alfred was 10.84 for the bronze, which that's not going to win the global final in 2025.
And shout out, we'll go back to the results, John. Sha'Carri
Richardson made the final. She finally broke 11 seconds. Took her until September 14th, but she did it. And actually had a pretty, decent, didn't react that poorly. Like, her start was okay. She just, she hasn't been running well all year. So her start was horrendous. Like, it's kind of a miracle she even made the final after what happened in the semis. Like, we thought that her semi in Budapest was bad with her slow reaction time. This one, first of all, she jumped the gun. If you look at the replays, Nida, who's in the blocks next to her, twitched. And that's what caused Sha'Carri to move her head up and for everyone else to go. So I think she was rightfully not disqualified in the semis. But even when the gun did fire, she stumbles badly for a couple steps, somehow recovers, makes the final. So for her to put it together and get 5th in a season where this was her best race of the season. She ran it when it mattered. But you've also got to ask, why is someone so talented, who's run 10.65 2 years ago, who was the Olympic silver medalist, what is this injury that she had in February that she hasn't given any details on? Is that still lingering? Like, why hasn't she progressed this season? I would love to know, but again, she didn't stop in the mix zone to talk.
I mean, she's so hit or miss, but she also has the ability to raise her game at the higher levels, but she was in such a deficit coming into this, there was literally no chance. So,
All in the Game, credit to All in the Game, one of our dedicated listeners. He said Tina Clayton looked better in the prelims yesterday. He was very he was willing to die on that hill, and she looked brilliant tonight. So that was a very good call. She looked a lot better than Sha'Carri.
Yeah, but 10.61, I mean, that's
not going to lose many races.
You're in uncharted, I mean, essentially like unbeatable territory pretty much. Flojo, we don't mention that one. The wind gauge was broken. But yeah, Elaine Thompson in Eugene 2021.
I mean,
Shelly,
Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is the greatest sprinter of all time, and her PB is 1060. Jefferson-Wooden just ran 1061.
right?
So that's the level she's operating on. It's remarkable season. To go, like, she wasn't just satisfied with that Olympic bronze last year. She wanted to go for more in 2025, and now she's the world champ. And salute also to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Again, greatest sprinter of all time, 7-time global champion in the 100 meters. This was her final individual race of her career, 6th place, 11:03. She made the final, so she gets, she doesn't get the storybook ending, but making the final at age 38, 39, in a sprints race, can't be many people in history who've ever done that. So kudos to her, and congrats on one of the greatest careers we'll ever see in this sport.
Yeah, I mean, the GOAT. Definitely the GOAT. So, I mean, Melissa, like, in the semi, really sort of separated herself. Was coming in, I thought Alfred might be with her. And then after the semis, I was like, wow, this looks like next level. And then the final was like a whole nother level. That's her third 10.6 of the year. And interesting thing is, John, she ran the exact same time as Elaine Thompson Noah at the Olympics, 10.61. But that was a headwind for her at the Olympics. And then she dropped to 10.54 after that. I mean, I think that's the greatest, ignoring Flojo, that's the greatest, because I don't trust Flojo's 10.49. It's the greatest season. But this season with Jefferson-Wooden is right up there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would... Shelly-Ann, I think in 2022 had a season where she was running, or even 2021 and 2022, she had a bunch of 10.6s and 10.6 lows in there. So I don't know if I would call this the greatest season ever. Because also the other thing was Shelly-Ann and Elaine, their peaks kind of overlapped. So some of those years they were, like 2021, definitely they were racing a bunch and, kind of splitting victories there. But start to finish, this is one of the greatest sprint seasons we've ever seen.
I mean,
Melissa Jefferson-Wooden.
I mean, it's a top 5, but I guess it also maybe that's some of the current nature of the sport, because 3 of these top 5 are in the last 4 years. So if like 3 of the last 5 years, maybe it's just more like.
I mean, come on, I don't think it's just like the sport is at a high level because women like Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and Elaine Thompson Noah pushed it to a higher level, I think. And now Melissa Jefferson-Wooden has taken up the mantle and kept it going. So I'd like to know what happened with Alfred. She wasn't at the press conference. They didn't give an explanation why.
Oh, interesting. Because all in the game here is saying Alfred may scratch the 200 with a hamstring injury. That sort of might make sense to me because she's obviously a big meet performer from last year. Had been raising her game throughout this year, and then I thought it was a little off in the final from what I expected. So if she's not 100%, that makes sense.
Yeah, but even if she was, I mean, I don't know if she would have beaten Melissa Jefferson-Wooden tonight. Like, what a race. Men's 100-meter final. Well, then the final race of the night, Jamaica is back, baby. 1-2. They didn't just win the global title, their first one since Usain Bolt on the men's side in 2016. They went 1-2. Oblique Seville slays the championship demons of years past. 9.77, personal best. And he did it by coming from behind. Seville's known for his start, and he didn't have the lead in this one. It was kind of reminiscent to last year's Olympic final, where Kishane Thompson was in the lead, and Oblique Seville took the Noah Lyles role and ran him down late. The difference was this one was not settled by 5 thousandths. Anyone with eyes could see that Thompson got this one. Sorry, that Seville got this one. Sorry, pulled the lead diffy there. Yeah, for him to come from behind his last 20 meters or so. I mean, Jefferson, her last 30 meters was. That's the other thing about the Jefferson's race is she was pretty even with Tina Clayton about 30 meters to go, and then just pulled away. Like, her last 30 meters was magnificent. So Seville finished really well also. And the big question I had for him is if you look at his previous 4 championships, he started in Tokyo. He's been to all 4 since then. Every single year, he would either run his fastest time in the semis or in the first round. He'd never run his fastest time of a global championship in the final. And he did it this year. So I said, what changed? And he kept it very simple. He just said injuries. And I was like, well, how does that make sense? Like, how does injuries? He basically said, well, I came into the 2023 Worlds and I was hurt. I had a hamstring injury. No one really knew about it. He was just happy to make the final there. He said last year he got injured in the final. This year, he felt like he was healthy. And, you know, you look at his Diamond League results. If he didn't have that Torture Championship history, he probably should have been the favorite based on how well he was running and, you know, that incredible run he had in Lausanne in the rain. But I was just nervous. I'm like, this guy hasn't done it when it really, really counts. And he'd never medaled before tonight. And now we know, okay, maybe some of it might have been nerves when he was younger, but also if you're not 100% healthy running 3 races in 2 days, maybe that takes a bit of a toll as well. So good to see him get it right in the championship. And he was very much happy to be part of this America-Jamaica sprint rivalry. America-Jamaica. Yeah, combine the countries. Yeah, do you want to call that? That's the Jamaica. That's the sprint rivalry going on. But no, he was happy to be part of this because this is a guy who's coached by Glenn Mills, who was Usain Bolt's coach. Usain Bolt was in the building tonight. He doesn't usually come to these things. So they were showing him on the stands beforehand. And now it's like, okay, Jamaica's got a men's sprint champion again. And he liked how he came from a small town. And now he's on the big stage doing it for Jamaica. So he's very proud to be Jamaican. And I think Jamaica's got a lot to be proud of with him as well.
He's one of the most soft-spoken guys, man. Right?
Yeah, he's not crazy. Like a big personality, big 100-meter sprinter, no.
I, in theory, interviewed him. I couldn't hear a word he was saying. I mean, there's a bunch of other journalists around, and I'm reaching over somebody. But, I mean, good for him. Because, yeah, I mean, last year, the fastest time in the semis, last in the final. That's sort of crazy.
I think Thompson had the fastest time in the semis last year.
Okay. Well, he ran
981 in the semis, though. You think, okay, that guy, you know, he's going to be in gold medal contention. He wasn't close.
But John, you said he didn't have the fastest start. I just put up some infographic. Claimed he was pretty much leading the entire way.
Seville was?
Yeah.
What? According to what?
Parallax, John. You're staring at the start.
Am I wrong here? People, viewers, listen in. Weigh in. It looked to me like Thompson was ahead for a good chunk of the race, and Seville really came back on him in maybe the last 30 meters. Or am I just totally off, and I'm, you know, running on no sleep here? Maybe
I shouldn't be trusting the idle way of timing after some of the stuff we're seeing. Thompson, I heard him asking him in the press conference, you know, what's it like to get second again? I think this one's easier to take. When it's that close to Noah, and he's from a different country, you think, oh, I could have had if I did something differently. He got beat pretty badly today, you know what I'm saying? I mean, not badly, but it wasn't close. Right? So I think...
No, I mean, Thompson, my concern with him is sometimes when there's a guy right... Like, a lot of his best races are blowouts. And when there's a guy right next to him, I do worry if he gets a little tight. Like, we kind of saw it even with the semis with Kenny Bednarek. Yeah, he ran okay. He was looking over, so maybe he wasn't going all out or whatever. But last year, he hadn't really been challenged all year. And then we get in the Olympic final, and Lyles is right there, and Lyles has a better close. And tonight, look, 982, it's fine. He was pretty content with it. I think last year he was really upset not to win the gold. And this one... He was more content with it, I think, especially because the margin was a little bigger. 982, like that's pretty good execution. 982 in the World Championship final, but he's got to be thinking like, man, I was close. I was close to winning these 2 races with about 30 meters to go, and I wish, you know, one of these maybe, you know, he's a big talent. He'll be around the next couple of years. He was very proud to have made it through the whole season healthy because this is a guy who's had injuries. Well, I guess making it through the season, I think he did have a shin issue, maybe. He's claimed that's just why he pulled out some of the Diamond Leagues. But he was happy that he was able to make it to the final and still run well here. And have a sort of complete season start to finish. So definitely got a lot to be proud of, and I think he probably was happy that if someone was going to beat him, it was a fellow Jamaican.
I thought we had Roja trying to come back on here. I'm not sure what's going on. But Noah Lyles is being praised here in the comments by San Francisco's finest, Jonathan Turdeman. Or is all in the game saying, well, it'd be a bad look if he wasn't a good sport. I think you've seen guys get beat. It's rare to see someone at a global championship actually sort of sulk around after the race on the medal stand. But I was sort of taken away. I'm like, wow, Noah's like celebrating here, like getting the flag, being embraced. I don't think he doesn't have to do that.
No, I think Noah also, just looking at the season he's had, he got a late start. His hundreds hadn't been going that great. He hadn't been in the same form in that event as he had been last summer coming into Paris. So for him to get on the stand and to run a season's best, I think he was just pretty, like Lance Browman, his coach. I saw him in the press conference. He was happy with how it went. I think given the less than ideal preparation and given that emotional letdown that comes after the Olympics, for him to get back on the podium, I think he was just pleased to manage to do that.
Yeah, I can actually.
And then Kenny Bednarek, he's the one coming home devastated from this race, fourth place. He, in the semis, if he runs what he did in the semis, he gets a medal, and that's what Kishane Thompson was able to go faster in the semis. Seville was able to go faster than the semis. Kenny Bednarek won his semifinal, 9:85, only manages 9:92 in the final, and that's bumped off the podium. So I think you look based on how he was running at Grand Slam, based on how he was running at USA's, Kenny Bednarek looked to be in better 100-meter shape going into this race than Lyles. Obviously, they did race in Silesia and Lyles beat him, but I think we can kind of regard that as a bit of a one-off given all of Kenny's other results. But this was an opportunity for him to win a medal in the 100 meters, and he didn't take that opportunity.
100%. I mean, shout out to Kenny. Like, he was coming through the mix zone, and these guys get stopped by TV. It's on some distance running website. I was like, Kenny, will you talk? And he stopped, and he was really disappointed. But the interview's up on YouTube. You guys should listen. He just made no excuses. He's just like, the start killed me. I'm usually better than that. Did you hear anything? He's like, I was really relaxed. Not in a bad way. He was just like, this was his opportunity, right? He's always in Noah's shadow a bit. I think he really wants to raise it. And after coming into these championships, I thought he was a little bit off his form. But after the semi, I'm like, well, I was right there with Thompson. Could he win this? And I think winning would have probably been out of the equation. Seville was amazing. But getting a medal. Well, I mean, you look at the reaction times, John, just on the reaction time. Forget also his bad reaction, and then I think also the initial steps weren't that great. Just on the reaction time. If he has no reaction time, he gets a medal.
Yeah. Well, the other interesting thing I wanted to make about both races, I suppose, is just it's hard to stay on top in these events for very long. That's why when someone like Bolt or Shelly Ann comes along and reels off all these victories, you really have to give them a lot of respect and say, like, hey, it's hard to stay on top, because in the women's 100, we've had 5 straight years of global championships, and we've had 5 different women's 100-meter champions in that stretch across the Olympics and Worlds. On the men's side, we've had 4 different championships. Noah Lyles was the only one to win 2. He went back-to-back 23 and 24. But I guess that's the question is, 2027 and looking ahead to 2028 Olympics, is it going to be, can Seville and Jefferson-Wooden build on this and really just sort of take over the event? Is Sha'Carri Richardson or Julian Alfred or Kishane Thompson, one of those athletes, going to answer back and they're on top in Beijing 2 years from now? Or is it some new talent coming up on the scene that overtakes all of them? It's going to be interesting to see, but that's the challenge for Jefferson-Wooden and Seville moving forward is sort of, can they take this and build on it? But right now, they're just not, don't worry about that. They're thinking, hey, I executed the best race of my life in the World Championship final.
Yeah, and actually one guy we mentioned is Tebogo, and actually I'm getting the remarks about being calm backwards. Bednarik was like very upfront, just like I just had a terrible start. No, the guy who said he was really calm was Tebogo. He false started. It's like, what happened there? And he's like, I've never done this. I don't know. I think I was really calm. Like I don't know. Like he. And then I'm like, well, you accepted it with grace. He just sort of like clapped and walked off. No protest. He's like, well, what's protesting going to do?
Well, he had no right. He had no protest.
That's what he
that
said.
was one of the most blatant full starts I've ever seen.
Well, Shaqiri flinched with someone next to her, but he's like, there had been a lot of yellow cards. He's like, I was hoping for a yellow card. He's like, well, why didn't you protest? He's like, well, I full started.
DeGrasse got a yellow card as well in the semi, and I looked at that. That to me just looked like a full start. Like, you flinch in the blocks like that once you've been called set. That's supposed to be a full start. I don't understand the rationale for why DeGrasse wasn't DQ'd. I think in the women's semifinal with the Shaqiri one, could Daryl Nita have been DQ'd? I mean, she did flinch the blocks. It was so minor that maybe you could write that off. I'd have to look at the exact rule. But, yeah, I was kind of wondering, I'm like, okay, well, if they don't DQ Tebogo here, we may as well just remove the DQ rule, the full start rule at all, because they're not going to call anyone for it. But they did. He was justifiably DQ'd. It's unfortunate we didn't get to see him in this race, but I thought his better chance to do something was going to be in the 200 anyway. So we'll see that. Okay.
No, we still have the 200, which will be great, obviously. And when looking at the ages, Thompson and Seville are both 24. Bednarik is younger than Lyles, 26, and Lyles is 28. So there's no guarantee. Lyles and Bednarik, we had Justin Gatlin competing until he was nearly 40. But at some point, age, right? You're just not your prime physical specimen in life in your 30s. I think athletes are finding better ways to train, so maybe some of the lifetime training can make up for some of that. But at some point, age enters the equation. The 200 should be fascinating. Actually, I'm gonna just play this clip for Noah afterwards. You're gonna have to watch him celebrate with Tara Davis Woodall for a second. But Noah talked about the race, but then his comment here about the 200 is amazing. I thought was pretty good. So let me play this.
It's all right. I'm from Serbia. Where we doing?
This the international US
All right.
Very brief.
Very brief. All right. Small crowd.
Not first place, Noah, but third.
Not first place. No,
Still got a smile on your face.
A huge smile. It's a crazy season. Injuries, rushing the season, using a lot of those rounds as just prep for today, and a season's best still on top of that. I'm never going to be disappointed in myself for giving my all.
Coming in, did you think you could get the gold?
100%. And I'm going to always think that. And I'm never going to think that I can't. Even when the chips are down and it's looking like I'm not going to win, I'm always going to believe that I'm going to win.
We've got to go to the press
200?
200 is going to be magical.
No, you can go to the press conference.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good job, Noah. All right, we hope you guys could hear that because John and I still can't hear any audio, but give us a thumbs up in the comment if you can hear that. And if you're listening, we haven't even promoted ourselves yet, John. Well, first of all, hit like or subscribe on YouTube. That's very helpful. And if you want this as a podcast, you don't have to figure out when we're going live every night at different times. Join our supporters club. Go to letsrun.com/subscribe. Letsrun.com/subscribe. You get daily podcasts from Worlds. We're just getting started. This is night 2, and it was fabulous.
Well, then I can't believe we've gone almost an hour without addressing the Ingebrigtsen situation. There are probably people who have been tuning into this podcast and are like, when the hell are they going to talk about Jakob? This was the biggest storyline of the whole World Championships. Now's the time, people. We're going to address it. Jakob Ingebrigtsen did not even advance from the first round of the men's 1500 meters. As the site of his greatest triumph in this sport, Olympic 1500 meter champion in Tokyo 2021, is now the site of his greatest failure, failing it to make out of the rounds. Let's be real though, this was not the Jakob Ingebrigtsen we're used to seeing. It was very clear, he just doesn't have the fitness, he doesn't have the legs right now. He went out even slower than normal. This is a guy who likes to run from the back, but usually, in the prelims at least, and usually he'll make this move up to the front, and sometimes it'll be early, sometimes it might not be with a lap to go, but he's so confident in his fitness that he can just go by everyone and have these really great closes. He's never really in any danger on the last lap in these prelims. And today he was back there. I'm like, he's sure giving him a lot of ground. Like, he was in last place. He was 5 meters off the back of some of these other guys. Maybe not the guy directly in front of him, but like the main pack. And he did work his way up a bit. He got into 10th. He was in terrible position at the bell. But entering the final 100, he was 6th. He was in the final spot. And if he's got the final 100 in his legs, he would have made it. And he very clearly did not. People were passing him, Koskeren from Ireland going out on his outside. Jakob had nothing. And I think it just showed this Achilles injury. It impacted what he was able to do. He wasn't able to hit the speeds he wanted to, I think, in the harder sessions. And that's what you get at this level with how good this event is. You show up and you're that severely compromised by the injury, you're not going to make it out. So even some of the other guys, with this race, we had 5 of the 10 fastest men in history in the field in Tokyo, and only 2 of them made it to the semifinals. Fanuel Koech fell, he's out. Azadine Habs, the world leader at 3:27 this year, got out raced. He was 7th in his prelim, and then Jakob, who's 4th fastest ever, didn't have it, and he faded 8th place in his prelim. So just a bloodbath for some of these some of the fastest guys ever.
It was surprising. And people are, in the comments saying he hasn't raced since World Indoors in March. I've never seen Jakob look like that. Jakob is human. Who knew? I agree, but John, I thought his tactics were horrific. He raced like he was the fittest athlete in the field. He raced like he was the Jakob of old. The gun goes off, he immediately goes to the back, gets gapped by, I don't know, more than 5 meters, I would say. Like, okay, fine, maybe you don't want to get in traffic, but okay, you still have to make up that 5 meters. Why not just be right on the last guy?
Right.
Then when the kicking comes down, I say he gets up into 6th. So, like these are what? 1,100, yeah. So, 10th place at the bell? Like, come on. I'm sorry. Like, that's just not the place to be. So he's only 0.3 behind 5th at that point. So he's right there, but that's an extra 0.3 you have to make up. So by the finish here, where's the times?
But he missed it by half a second.
Right.
You could tell he wasn't going to make it.
Right, John. But also, look, how much difference between first place in that heat and 5th? 0.4 seconds. There's not much room for error. Yes, when you're 2 seconds better than anyone in the race, at top end maybe with full rabbits, that's probably where he's been some of these years, you can do whatever the hell you want. But coming in like that may not be there, so just be tactically sound. Give yourself a chance, because if you make it to the next round, then maybe it's not such a shock to the system. Because today after round 1, look, the Americans, Ethan Strand, Jonah Koech, and Cole Hocker all advanced, and Strand sort of struggled coming down the stretch and looked like he was giving all his effort. And then we come through the mix zone where Cal was that. And he goes, that was effing hard. First thing he says. But he's like, oh, I kind of expected that. I haven't raced since when USA's, and I've been feeling flat since getting here with the jet lag. But he's like, training's going great. This can be expected the first race. Now, maybe he's just saying positive stuff. But there is one data point we have that supports that. In 2021 here in Tokyo, Josh Kerr made it out, talked a big game coming in, and he wasn't a global star at that point. Gets out of round 1 on time, and we're like, whoa, this guy had been running really well, talking a big game. Like, come on, like, this guy's going to do nothing. He walks away 2 rounds later with an Olympic medal. So, Jakob, just make it to round 2. Maybe something could have happened.
Well, no. I disagree with that, Weldon. Even if he had perfect tactics, maybe that survives. That gets him into the semifinals. He wasn't making the final. He doesn't have the legs. I'm sorry. Like, we knew it was going to be hard for him in the 1500 anyway, because the way he runs these finals, that's a difficult way to win the gold medal. But with missing the time, I was just like, that really, I thought he had very little chance of winning the 1500. Given the time he missed. I think that would have bought him one more round. I don't think he was going to make the semis, given what we saw from him fitness-wise. Now, he says he's coming back in the 5,000, and he told the Norwegian media he thought he had better shot there because he's been doing more training at that pace. You know, the Achilles recovery, it hasn't inhibited him as much doing that sort of specific work as it has in the 1,500. But I'm sorry, if you can't make the second round of the 1,500 meters, I don't see how you could do much of anything in the 5,000 meters. I know that event's wide open, but you're going, if it's super slow, you've got guys like Hocker and Laros hanging around, and then you've got some of the stronger guys. You still need to be able to close really hard in these 5Ks to do something, and he just didn't look like he had it. So I'm pessimistic about his chances of doing anything in the 5K.
Did you not listen to me? I just said Josh Kerr looked terrible and ended up with a medal. Jakob himself said, it might have also just been a bit of a bad day and something very marginal that made it so bad. I've trained better than this, so it was a bit surprising. He clearly expected better coming in. It's his first race of the season. Look, do I expect something? No, but I'm saying like it's not 100% the end all be all. What do we always talk about? Rust busters, that sort of stuff. Like, you know, some of that concept may be not as relevant these days because athletes are finding themselves, you know, to be very fit. Like some of these first races in indoors. I mean, look at Grant Fisher indoors.
No, I don't see it well. I see this as he was going into the championships very much not knowing what kind of shape he was in. He found out, and the answer wasn't good. It wasn't encouraging. So he can come back for the 5. Maybe he'd even make the final. But this wasn't like Kerr, who maybe made a tactical error. It was a little harder. He took it for granted in the first round in Tokyo in 2021. This was a guy who was in perfect position to qualify with 100 meters to go, and he got run down by 2 guys. I don't see how you fix that 5 days from now in the 5K.
Okay, some good comments here. JG, meaning Jonathan Galt, knows Jakob doesn't have it. But didn't Jakob? Why go out and lay an egg? Jakob should just pack it in and come back next year and break the world record. Well, one, some people are speculating this is it for him, that like it's a changing of the guard, that everyone will be talking about Niels Laros.
Who's speculating about that?
I've seen tons of comments.
This guy ran 7:17 1 year ago. I'm not changing any guards.
John, that's what instant reaction are. But also, like, Jonathan, I don't think you understand, like, these guys, athletes, like, I usually go back to, like, the boxing analogy. Those guys keep coming back. The egos of the top people in sport, and I mean this in a good way, is so high it has to be. To think you can be the best in the world at something is, you have to believe it before you can do it, but the belief is so strong, especially in a guy like Jakob who's just done it consistently and from a young age. And you see that confidence he has. And same thing with like Kerr or something like this. So like, we thought it was all impossible. I thought if he came in 100% fit, he might have a lot of trouble like winning this thing. I think after the last, 3 years, I'm like, he can't be the favorite in this thing unless he comes in like, or has broken the world record or something. And we clearly hadn't seen that this year.
Right.
But so I think he thought he could do something. I still think he can do something. And it's sort of crazy with now John's like, he may not make the 5,000 final. You guys were so high on him.
You're confident he's going to make the 5,000 final?
No, but sort of beforehand, we handicapped all these races, and I was like, I think I put him at like 15 or 20% to win the 5,000. You guys are like, what? He's the heavy favorite. I'm like, how do we know he's fit? But you guys did have a point. Okay, say there's a 50% chance he's not fit. A fully fit Jakob, you guys would probably put him at like 75% or higher to win the thing. So if you deduct that by 50%, maybe he still should be like 40% or something.
Schrodinger's distance running here. Before going into the championships, we didn't know if he was in shape or not. Now
but you got to factor that in.
The what is the waveform, whatever you think, has collapsed. We know, we have this data, and now I've seen, he's actually not very fit. So yeah, I'm heavily discounting him into 5,000 now. Going in though, I didn't know what kind of shape he was in, and given the uncertainty around every other contender in that race, and given how the degree to which he's dominated that event in the last 3 years, I still put him as the favorite, even though he hasn't raced since March. Now,
wait, what? Whoa, we've been going over an hour, John. I'm in much better shape today. John thought I might die yesterday. Surprised I made it through the show. But like, what time we start last night, John? Was it midnight?
Yeah, midnight. We got on nap in.
We started later tonight, and I'm an hour. But SJ Gonder says Weejo looks emotional about this. I think advocating for Jakob's poor tactics in the 1500. But like, emotional, like angry or emotional, like I'm gonna break down and cry here for Jakob.
No.
And does anyone know a makeup artist? When Rojo brings the light, I need a makeup artist to make myself look a little younger here. I saw an IWF communications person yesterday, and she's like, "Wow, you look tired." And I was like, "Whoa."
I also blame our shower setup isn't great here. It's like, it's kind of inconvenient to take a shower in our apartment. So, it's probably not going to smell that great in this place 1 week from now.
Okay, I wish there was betting to whether Jakob makes the 5K final.
I wouldn't feel great about it. But look, the reason why he came out and ran this race, Jonathan Todeman said, his comment earlier was like, I can see he's not in shape. Like, why couldn't Jakob? He doesn't know. He hasn't tested it. Like, he can run these workouts and everything, but how many times have I heard an athlete say, "Oh, I was surprised myself out there. Didn't think I was that fit, or I hadn't been doing that much work, and I came out and ran this fast time." All the time. Athletes say that stuff all the time. It's a world championships. There's not going to be another one for 2 years. May as well come out and test it. Worst thing that happens, yes. Was this probably a bit embarrassing for him? Yeah. But he came out and give it a go, and maybe he does surprise himself and he comes away and he's fitter than he thought. It's worth a shot. And is the 5K now worth a shot? I think that's a question he has to ask himself. Like, what's the benefit? What's the drawback? Like, do I really think I could do anything here? Or is it better to just sort of focus on getting healthy and building? I don't know. I don't think he's going to injure himself running the 5K. I think there's probably no harm in it, but I don't see it really accomplishing much. Maybe I look like an idiot a few days from now. But what I'd really like to see him do, he's sort of talked about this because he's getting such a late start on his 2025 outdoor season. It opens up some options in the fall for maybe build fitness. You go do a road race somewhere, or this is my pitch. Keep getting fitter, build up, peak in January at the World Cross Country Championships in Tallahassee. Show up, run World Cross Country. That's what I think he should be his next target.
Jakob?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be great. But first, he's going to come to the letsrun.com. Well, he's got to run the 5K. Supporters Club Party. We have a place. We have a location. And we pull it up here. But Jakob is invited. Now, should I announce a bounty if he shows up?
A bounty?
Yeah.
What? Jakob Ingebrigtsen, dead or alive?
No, gee, John, with what's going on
That's
now
what a
in
bounty
America.
is.
No, like you knock someone out in poker, they get some money. I'll give $1,000 to Jakob Ingebrigtsen if he shows up at the party.
Wow, an appearance fee.
Appearance fee, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like a positive bounty.
It's called the Forest Beer Garden, and it's right by the stadium. So if you're in Tokyo and listening to this at 1:41 in the morning, or you're listening to it on delay in podcast,
5 to 7 p.m. on Wednesday, right before the 1500 final. It's looking like we may have some family members of one of the participants coming. Very excited to be there.
Some special guests could be in store. Let's just say that.
And tomorrow we got the semis. The heats are out. We might just do a 3-hour show tonight, guys.
Oh my god, we still got to write something.
We're not writing anything.
I'm not writing anything on the night of the 100-meter final?
No, okay, John ends up writing about the 100 meters. Now, maybe not an Olympic. Every other journalist writes about the 100.
Right.
You literally can watch the race in 10 seconds and it's over. So we don't need a lot of analysis on it.
Okay.
But
I guess storytelling's dead. Weldon's saying journalism's dead. Don't give us the backstory. Don't give us put it in context.
they ran as hard as they could for 100 meters. Here's the results.
Wow, our sport's really boring when you put it that way. I'm kind of shocked any of you guys are listening to us talk about it. Come on, Weldon. It's the World Championship final.
Okay, there's a couple
all sorts
other
of stuff.
things I want to talk about. So, one, the semifinal heats are out. I saw Jake Whiteman come through the mix zone, and I was like, wow, did he bomb out? And I'm like, I honestly didn't know. He actually won Jakob's heat. I was so focused on Jakob, I had no idea what was going on in front of him. John, you can tell me how he looked. You talked to him.
He looked all right. He looked good enough. I mean, all right, my takeaways from these from these first rounds, Cole Hocker looked sensational. And he
What?
was...
What? I just... I picked up that sentiment from your recap. I didn't... Like, come on, why? Let's give me a little more context.
Well, if you let me continue my point instead of cutting me off, perhaps I would. The first few laps, I was a little worried. I'm like, what's he doing? He seemed like he was screwing around. Then he makes this big power move to the front, and then he just looked so in control that last lap. He closed in like 50. I mean, granted, it was a 3:41 race or whatever, but he was just in the front and was going to run as fast as he needed to hold it on, and he looked very, very comfortable. So I don't know. I wanted to come into this race seeing like, all right, is this the Cole Hocker I've seen in the prelims and some of these previous championships where he looks really in control? He looked totally in command that last lap. That's exactly what I wanted to see from him. We didn't get a chance to speak to him because apparently the shuttle back to the Team USA hotel was like right after the race, so he couldn't stick around.
Oh, John bought that excuse.
That's what they told us. Anyway, it's the first round. I'm not like too crazy if people blow us off after it, but he didn't stick around to talk. I just came away from that pretty impressed, and as impressed as you can be from a first round heat. And then Jonah Koech, that was the other question mark. How's he going to look? Because he had to miss a week of running after USA's with this hamstring injury. He had a PRP injection, platelet-rich plasma. He said he really thinks that's helped him, and his hamstring is up to 90% now. He said it was only 85% at USA's. He feels like it's in a better spot than it was at the US Championships. Now, he's got an extra round to run, but he looked fine. He qualified without incident, so I thought he looked good. And then Niels Laros did Niels Laros things and was fine. No problems at all for him the last 200.
So, yeah, but also, obviously, besides the shock of Jakob going out, it was great news for the Americans, if you think about it from big picture. Jakob's not going to be a factor. Koech, who would have been a factor. I mean, let's not forget, Fennell Koech smoked Josh Kerr in London. Smoked him. And he won another one, too, right? Where else did he win?
Well, he won in Ostrava. But the last couple of Diamond League, he looked like he was running out of steam a little bit. I know he was up against Laros, who's in supreme form, but
Didn't he get second in both those?
He was third in one of them, I think. But he wasn't... I don't know. I didn't come in thinking, oh, man, like, really got to worry about Fennell Koech. The guy I'm actually thinking about it could be a huge concern for the Americans trying to medal is Reynold Chariot. Because think about... Look, well, I'm going to explain to you this way. Think about who got eliminated today. Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Azadine Habs, Fennell Koech. Yard Nagus isn't at the meet. What do all those guys like to do? They like to be at the front in fast races.
Ooh.
And I'm thinking ahead to the final, who's going to push this thing? Who's going to, like, we've seen 329. That's just how the global finals are run these days.
Oh,
What if
my
it's
God.
not?
Scott
What if
Strand
it's-
might be just licking his chops, man.
Ethan Strand might be
Excuse
as
me.
well. But who's got the best final 100 in the field? Maybe, I mean, Niels Laros is great. You know, Reynold Chariot closed a race in 12.1 for his last 100 this year. He did that in 2025.
Where?
I don't remember which one. I think it was one of the Diamond Leagues, but you watch his last 100 at the Kenyan Championships, you watch it on the Diamond League, the guy, I think it was Silesia, he closed in 12.1 when Nagus won it. Now, the problem with him is Reynold Chariot is horrible at positioning, so he's always too far back to make it count, but I'm just saying, that guy's dangerous. So it's going to be interesting, but we'll see what the final looks like. But I'm just curious, like, who's going to step up? Is this thing going to be fast, or are we going to have like a mid 330s race?
Well, it's sort of interesting because after USA's, I'm like, the day of a mid 330, 1500 is over. And we had two today over 340, which I think one shows the heat. And granted, it is round one. But like USA's was so fast in those early rounds, even. I'm like, what the world level is going to be. Yeah, John, as you're saying, you need someone to take it and push it. I don't think Kerr wants it to go tremendously slow.
Do you think he wants to be leading it?
No, probably Laros doesn't want to. Laros doesn't want a Scott Strand, a Ethan Strand type race. But, okay, big picture, yeah, it's good for the Americans. But looking at these heats, someone's saying this is the most stacked heat they've ever seen. I sort of disagree. Let's go through these names. Guys who I'm really bullish on. Ethan Strand, this is heat number 1. Ethan Strand, yes. Whiteman, I guess so, too. Timothy Chariot 3, Laros 4, Kerr 5, and I guess Norda 6. Like, it's not like there's 8 guys who are like phenomenal in this thing. All right, so we'll go to heat number 2, because 6 in each heat are going to make the final. Hocker's been doing great this year. Jonah Koech is doing great. John singing the praises of Chariot 3. Okay, this one is weaker.
The first one's the harder heat.
Yeah, for
but,
sure. This one's got 3 guys, so okay, 5. Nordas didn't look that great, though. So, like, 5 good guys. I mean, Nader's shown a good kick.
What do you mean Nordas didn't look that great? Nordas looked fine. He won his heat. Nordas looked very good.
Okay.
Strand didn't look that good. Strand would be the guy I was worried about because he was saying his last 10 days, he just felt flat. And, look, maybe it's the case. This is his first championship. It's a little harder than they thought it was going to be. He gets more adjusted to being here. He got to Tokyo on Monday. I mean, you would think that's enough time to adjust. He didn't feel like he was worn down, but I wasn't exactly optimistic based on, how he ran today. The other guy I think we need to address here, Fanuel Koech, we kind of talked about him being eliminated. I think he had a strong case to be advanced. It's hard sometimes to see exactly where all the contact occurs in these things. I don't know if they're using like VAR. They probably are using like reviews to determine who should go through or not when an appeal is lodged. But I tried to watch that several times. Coming around the bell on the first turn, he tries to cut in on Pihlstrom from Sweden, and he doesn't have enough room. So they sort of tangle, and he gets bumped out again. That I mean, if he fell then, I would have no sympathy because he didn't have room to cut in. But then he tries to go around again, and I don't know if he cut in a little too soon, but to me it just looked like he kind of had position, and then Pihlstrom pushed him in the back. That was clear. I don't know whether pushing was that's what Pihlstrom had to do because he felt like he needed to stay up, and that was his only option, or if their legs had tangled. But to me, I see Koech got pushed in the back and he fell down, and that prevented him from advancing. I feel like he had a pretty strong case to be advanced, and he might have been a factor, like you said, in the final. So I don't know what the judges saw, but from my view, I think he might have been screwed over here.
I mean, David Minter says here in the comments he had no case. He ran into people. I saw someone earlier saying that when we first started talking about this event. Whereas All in the Game says Fennell was definitely pushed.
Well, he was pushed. The question was he pushed because he tried to cut in without enough room? And I think maybe that's what they determined.
I mean, it's sort of interesting, right? Like how you view this. Is this like a fitness contest? You want all the best people there, or is it more of a game? Like in game and sports, there's more randomness. In track, a lot of times we want all the best guys in the final, but like if there's some randomness and whatever, then okay, maybe he can be left out. But I thought he sort of get put in. I spoke to him. He's like, yeah, I was pushed. He was kind of had a abrasion on his shoulder. I kind of figured they'd put him in, but I haven't watched it more than what I saw during the race. So it's kind of interesting how people are viewing this. But I think that's racing, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, it's just wild to me. Azzedine Habs is the sixth fastest man in history. This guy ran 3:27.49 in the middle of the season in June. Basically peaked for the Paris Diamond League, it looked like. He had a couple other decent races. It's not like he totally fell off the map, but I think it also shows the difference between like championship racing and Diamond League pace time trials. But it's just still kind of crazy to me. His whole season, I'm kind of in shock it happened. He runs a 3:27 at age 31. Is the world leader the whole year. Is number 6 in history, and then doesn't even make the world championship final. I'm just trying to add up all this stuff.
You would have bet on him to medal here, John?
Hell no.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I gave him no chance to. Well, I gave him no chance to win, and medaling, I wouldn't have felt confident in it.
Same with me. Rojo's getting heated up in the comments. He's getting on his plane. Apparently had a few drinks. Typos left and right. Getting abrasive in the comments. Screw you, he said. Jakob was paid 7 figures to run. He should be commended for not being afraid to lose. I sort of agree. It's your job to come race. If you only show up when you know you're going to win, what's the point of the sport? It's a sport. Rojo also has a typo here in his thing. It says, I'm only showing up the meetup unless me and Mrs. Laros are there. I think he meant to say if Mr. and Mrs. Laros are there.
That. He corrected himself. Yeah.
But that sounds, Rojo is not close with Mrs. Laros. Mrs. Laros might be listening to this podcast right now. We hope you guys can come. That would be great. It's going to be great. That's tomorrow in the evening. And yeah, without these guys pushing the pace in the final, it could be a really different one. I think I'll get a little more of a preview tomorrow, maybe in that first heat. It is a little more stacked, so who wants to let it totally come down to a kick? It's not the final, though, but you've got some pretty good guys in that first heat, so it's a preview. It's kind of what's going to happen.
All right, maybe just a quick 2 or 3 minutes on maybe 5 minutes on the women's marathon, because otherwise we
have women's 15 semis, which we haven't mentioned.
Okay, but do we need to really mention them that much?
Well, we just spent about 30 minutes on the first round of the men's.
I already know who's going to
1500.
win the women's 1500. I have a pretty good idea about who's going to get second. I don't know, like, were there any huge surprises to you? Sophie O'Sullivan, I was surprised by how badly she ran, but
She was horrific.
like, oh, I guess the notable thing that happened was Froeni Hailu falling. Because I thought for a second there, I was like, has Nikki Hiltz caught another break here? One of their biggest rivals, an athlete who looked quite good in the first round and beat Nikki Hiltz in that race. Could they be out of it before we even get to the final? But Froeni Hailu picked herself up very quickly and was able to advance really no problem, even with the fall on the first lap. But other than that, I mean, Sinclair Johnson made it. Emily Mackay, sort of the same thing that happened to her in Paris. Just she'll probably be more disappointed about this one because Paris, the whole thing was an upswing. Just making it there was a big, mission accomplished for her to make it to the Olympics. This time she makes it there. She is run well out of it in her semi.
I mean, it's sort of shocking how poorly her and Sophie O'Sullivan ran. 4:12 and 4:18, like they didn't fall down. Like, I don't know, that's hard for me to fathom, but yeah, you can have an off day. And I guess, whatever. If you're off of it, does it really matter if you run 4:18 or 4:04? You're not making it anyway. It took 4:01 in the heat to make it. Hailu, when she fell, I'm like, wow, this could be the best thing ever for Nikki Hiltz, his medal chances, but she made the final. So I think the third, pretty much everyone I think sees this race is Faith Kipyegon's to win, Jess Hull for second, and then the third spot's a little more wide open, but Hailu and Hiltz are the two main first contenders, I think, probably along with
Nelly Jepchirchir is going to be in the mix.
She won heat number 2. I'm putting that up there now too.
Dorcas Ewoy looked pretty good actually in the first heat.
That was surprising.
Puma elite runner.
Really? What's her PB? She looked great, I thought.
I think she's run under 4 minutes, I'm pretty sure. But no, she's maybe a surprise contender in the personal best. Sorry, just looking it up. 3:59 in Rabat earlier this year. So that, I mean, she's probably, if she needs to be in a lot better shape than her PR, let's just say that in order for her to medal. All right, well, women's marathon, let's close with that. Really great race. Pretty wild. We woke up, and as we said, sort of in the early stages of it because we've been up late the previous night. And we get to the stadium. I look on the monitor. It says, America 1-2. And I was just saying, what? What's going on? And I was like, oh, I gave a shout out to Jess McClain on the podcast yesterday. Maybe she heard me, She wasn't the one winning even. It was Susanna Sullivan. I thought brave runs by both of them. It was good. Like, it sort of reminded me of Des Linden. Just run your own race, If you think you can handle that sort of pace, just do it. It wasn't like she was running anything crazy. It was miserable conditions for running. But
didn't she do this 2 years ago in Hungary and had even bigger lead?
She may have. I don't recall exact specifics of that race, but in this one, yeah, she got up to about 27 seconds. She knew the field was going to come back on her, and eventually the top two were the two most accomplished athletes in the field, Perez Jepchirchir and Tigst Sefa. And Jepchirchir, what an animal, man. I mean, we were watching the end of this in the mix zone on the TV, and Jepchirchir gets passed on the back straight by a Sefa, and everyone around there is saying, oh, this thing's over. And I'm just like, Perez Jepchirchir is a tough mother effer. Like, this race is not over. Because we've seen her do it in London. We've seen her do it in Boston. We've seen her do it in New York. And she did it here in the World Championships. She won the Olympic marathon in hot conditions in Sapporo in 2021. She did it again in the World Championships today. You got to feel a little bit fatigued to Sefa. 3 of her last 4 marathons, she's been outkicked either by Perez Jepchirchir here and in London last year, or by Sifan Hassan in the Olympics. And all those races were decided in the last 200 or so. I don't think that means she's a bad kicker. It means she's going up against 2 of the greatest distance runners of her generation. So I don't think she has any shame to finish second, but she's probably tired of finishing second at this point.
I mean, we're seeing this a lot now. These marathons seems to be coming down to like the final 200. And Jepchirchir, like, I mean, you really the way she runs, she like really like she shows that she wants it. All these
Her
people
face,
want
that
it.
was one
Yeah,
of the most
like
fierce, like, gamer expressions I've ever seen on someone. I'm like, that woman's not losing. Like, she's not losing in a kick. Not gonna happen. It was awesome.
yeah, it was like really good.
And
So Sullivan gets fourth.
which really good run for her. She was disappointed though. She was like, yeah, I wanted to get the medal, you know. So I think she's got a lot to be proud of, but it's tough out there. I mean, it's really tough conditions, and she thought she's based in Virginia, so she said Virginia summer, the soupiness in the air, that kind of helped her prepare a little bit. But one of the stories of the race was Julia Patinane of Uruguay. And she crosses the finish line. She doesn't even know what place she's in. She said coming into the stadium, she thought she was fifth or sixth. And what had happened was Magdalene Massai, who had been one of the women ahead of her in the final miles, dropped out. So that bumped her up a place she wasn't even aware of it. And she crosses the finish line. She's just sort of looking stunned. She thought she might have more distance to run. She didn't even realize that was the finish line. So she was just looking around. Then someone comes up and says, hey, you were third. And they didn't have a Uruguayan flag on hand to give her. So she wasn't celebrating, you know, with the flag, but she figured out, oh, I got the bronze medal. It was nuts. I'm like, who's Julia Patinane? And David Monty from Race Results Weekly is like, oh yeah, she ran in the NCAA. Like, she's based in Flagstaff. She runs for McCurdy trained. And I look up her whole bio. Born in Mexico, raised in England, went to college in the United States, runs for Uruguay because that's where her family is from originally. She said only her and her parents live outside of Uruguay. Everyone else from the family is back there. She ran NCAA cross country 3 times for Penn State and Arkansas. Never finished higher than 125th. Still to this date has never broken 16 minutes in 5K, but got into it, like moved to Flagstaff a couple years ago after visiting her friend Chrissy Gear, the former U.S. steeple champion. It's like, oh, I like it here. I think I'm going to start running. And, you know, gets into it, joins McCurdy trained last year, runs 70 minutes in a half marathon debut in November, realizes, I might be suited to the long distances. I'll try a marathon. She ran the McCurdy Micro Marathon to qualify for this race. 2:27 in her debut, won by 11 minutes. That gets her to Worlds for Uruguay. And then she shows up and she said best case scenario, she was hoping for top 8. She gets a medal. In her second career, she'd never run a marathon before March.
I mean, this is like where your dreams become reality stuff to the extreme. It's sort of crazy, John. Like, I mean, you know all these obscure people, but it's our job to follow sport. We've never heard of her.
No.
Like,
I mean, maybe I've probably read her name at some point.
I've probably seen her name, but top 125 in U.S. cross. I mean, in NCAA cross, that's terrible. And she went at 2 different U.S. colleges, Penn State and Arkansas. So she's like, you know, what number was she on the Arkansas cross country team? You know, she probably like 3rd or 4th runner, maybe worse.
Yeah, she did make NCAAs on the track as a freshman at Penn State, but she never qualified again. So,
Wow.
This was like, you know, I think this also shows some people, just because you don't have the greatest success in college doesn't mean that you can't have success post college. And sometimes if you're not having the success you want in the shorter distances, move up and give the marathon.
But this was, I mean, this is huge. Like, well, obviously to get the medal, she was, and it was, you saw pure disbelief and pure joy. Like, it's so great to see some of these people who, I don't know, they're shocked.
Oh, yeah.
It's like their dream is becoming true. She kind of was like, me? What? Third? Like, it was just great. Like, she didn't expect this. And, you know, now, like New York City Marathon, they love filling their fields. So every country represented. The Uruguay slot, like, she's good for, like, probably 5 years.
Yeah. And then you've got to remember, like, obviously the heat is an equalizer. It's very, Jonathan Todeman said in the comments, mollicidal redux. That's exactly what I thought of. Because going into that Olympic marathon in Japan in 2021, it wasn't in Tokyo, it was in Sapporo, but top 2 were Jepchirchir and Bridget Kosgei, who were the 2 best marathoners in the world at that point. Number 3 was Molly Seidel, who not a lot of people outside of America had heard of, who hadn't even won the U.S. Olympic Trials marathon that year. but the heat is a great equalizer. And
She
yeah.
didn't?
no, Alpine Tuliamak won
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So obviously, like Seidel has run, she went it back and ran well in New York the next year, but she's not someone you would ever think of as like contending for the win in London or Chicago or something like that. And for her to get that medal, part of it was Molly's brilliance, but part of it's also the conditions. Is like, are you prepared to run well in those conditions? Can you run smart? Can you keep your head? Patinane did that today. She was just, again, I think one success here for some of these women, Sullivan did it, Patinane did it, is just locking in, like, have a plan, stick to the splits you want to do, and trust that some of these other women might get overly ambitious and come back, blow up because of the weather. And that happened, and that's how she got the medal.
And also, it is sort of crazy, right? How your fourth, it's amazing. Your fourth, I mean, your third, it's amazing. Your fourth, it's kind of like, oh wow, what could have been? Because like, it's only one spot. It's not like you won, but like Susanna Sullivan story's almost, or maybe even better. This is crazy, John. She wasn't even in the top 7 at Notre Dame in the cross country team.
Yeah, never ran an NCAA cross.
I mean, what? Like, okay, I understand being the 3rd or 4th person on the team, but like, yeah. Oh, I joke, if I had been any good in college, I wouldn't have kept running after college. And I got like 4th in the country, not 4th in the world, but like, there's something to be said, like, when you don't have success, I don't know, one, you want to get it, and then 2, you're running for other sort of other maybe more intrinsic values. You're used to doing that, so you keep going longer. Where some people who are like, oh, I was all-American in college. Well, I'm not as good as the champions. What's the point? I'm not going to keep going with this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a cool World Championships marathon. We've got the other one starting 5.5 hours from now, so that'll be.
Why did we should have done a 45-minute show, guys? But hey. This time, hey, I apologize, Supporters Club members. I uploaded the wrong audio originally. I'll make sure I get the right one. I don't know what this sounds like. We got a fan here, but the audio will be cleaned up.
Oh, time for Patriots Dolphins.
It'll sound much better. Have the Cowboys kicked off yet? We got to watch those games tonight. I'm pulling an all-nighter.
Okay. So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you like this and you're a member of the Supporters Club, letsrun.com/subscribe. You get access to a bonus podcast every week and daily podcast during the World Championships. You get a free t-shirt as well. It's the comfiest t-shirt I own.
Money back guarantee, guys. So sign up. You don't like it, cancel.
Letsrun.com/subscribe if you want to join the Supporters Club. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll be back after day 3 on Monday. So see you guys then.
Rojo will be here. Is he going to be here tomorrow for the evening?
Yeah, he'll get here. So
time travel. Amazing, guys.
All right.